This e-commerce business makes over $211,000 a month, and I'm in the process of buying it with $0 down. Imagine how long it's taken me to start my own e-commerce businesses. You have to go ahead and test different products, spend large amounts in ads, and try to scale that product that you've picked out of nowhere from $0. And even then, it may take me several months to get to 20 or 30K per month. And that's assuming the best case scenario that absolutely nothing went wrong. But instead of that, I can skip the whole process, take the ownership of a business making over $200,000 a month, and I literally don't need to put a single dollar down. But how did I find the business? How did the owner actually agree to sell it for me for $0? And how can you do the exact same thing even if you're just a beginner in dropshipping? Well, I'm going to pull back the curtains to this business model and expose my whole process to you. So firstly, let's take a look at the financials of the business. Obviously, I can't reveal the name of the business for many different reasons, but I'm going to show you everything inside the business itself. As you can see on Shopify, the store is making over $211,000 a month, and I'll quickly refresh it to show nothing is preloaded at all. And everything on the store is real and coming in. Just today alone, it's already up to $4,000 in sales. So let's hop over and run through the profit and loss statement, which shows how much the business actually makes per month. So I actually found this business on a site called Flippa.com, and I'm going to show you how you can find even more businesses like this later on in the video. But we can see here, the store has actually done $204,000 in January in sales, $83,000 in February, and $211,000 in March. We can look through the actual expenses of the business itself, seeing where the money is being spent, whether it's on Facebook ads, Google, TikTok, Pinterest, or Snapchat. And I know here, if we look at March, we can see more and more money is being spent on Facebook, and that's generating better results, not only in the bottom line, which is net profit, that's the amount that you're going to be taking away every single month, but also in the amount of sales as well. You can simply just review all the financials here, but the main two numbers that you need to be focusing on are your total expenses and your net profit. Because simply to make more money, you can either reduce your expenses or increase your sales to get more of this bottom line. So if you tried to start different dropshipping stores before, potentially a brand, test different products out, but it's just not working, buying businesses is a much better way. The reason being is if you're going to go ahead and buy a business, instead of having to go through all the trial and error process to find something that works, and instead of running it from 0 to 10, you can run it from 10 to 100. Although the numbers are significantly larger when you're scaling it up, which you'll be getting out every single month, the workload is actually far less. Now, when I looked at my first business to buy, I thought you needed hundreds of thousands of dollars to go ahead and actually buy a company. There's tons of businesses for sale that are simply not being sold. And that leaves a huge opportunity right now to go ahead and buy businesses for minimal amounts of cash down. So here we're on a site called Flippa, which is one of the largest marketplaces to buy and sell businesses. It's pretty decent to give us an overall view. It's not perfect, but it does the job as of right now. So simply what you have to do is just go ahead to Flippa, sign up with a Google account, and then sort by these filters exactly. You want to do website and online businesses, then go down here to e-commerce and select digital product and dropship, as well as inventory holders in Shopify. Now you may be saying, but I don't want to take inventory on, but the thing is, lots of these businesses, we can go ahead and transition to a dropshipping model. As we can see here, there's quite a few confidential businesses, but I've actually put a small list together of 4 that could potentially be good to go ahead and buy. The first is this beauty store called Shop Everly. It's an $80,000 in revenue in 3 months. They're asking just $5,000 at the moment with the reserve bid of $19,000, but the chances are they're going to take a little bit less than that. They're making 20% on average in net. And in February, they did $35,000 in sales. Now to me, just $5,000 right now as the highest bid is a pretty good deal here. Especially if your budget is on the lower side, you want to make sure the site age is under 6 months old. You could go up to 12 months, but you're just going to be paying more and more from the profit multiple. The profit multiple is simply, as it says here, is the amount that the business generated in 12 months equal to the asking price. I'm going to explain a little bit more why this is important later on. As we can see here, all the details of the business are already in the description, and we can understand the market a little bit better by using a software, a spy tool as well. However, not every business is going to be good. There's plenty of scams out there. There's plenty of people try to sell a failing business, which we simply don't want to buy. Instead, we want to take opportunities or potentially risks where stores are already increasing in sales, but perhaps don't have that timeline already there to go ahead and warrant a super high listing price. So if we click onto this store, it's called Vinti Play, and this is actually an Indian-based store, which is straight away a little bit of an acquisition red flag. Now, there's nothing wrong with India. There's plenty of markets that make sense there, but in terms of advertising, it's really difficult to target just because on the broader spectrum, people spend less compared to a country like the US. If we also look here, it's a huge spike of 319,000 euros in sales, and it goes all the way down to literally 0 in the last few months. And even for free, you don't want to be taking on something like this where you're going to go ahead and take on all the losses every single month. So this is definitely something to avoid. Another way that you can go ahead and find businesses is through Facebook groups. I have my own one here, which you can go ahead and join. It simply has everybody looking to go ahead and buy or sell their own e-commerce businesses. Now there's plenty of groups out there, lots are filled with different scams, promotions for different jobs, and just simply a waste of time. So try to find one that is a little bit private. Another group that I found which is pretty good is actually an overseas group, but it works in the same way, and there's still e-commerce businesses for sale here. There are simple ways to qualify what's a good and a bad listing without just having the eye for it, right? And that's what I'm going to do in the next stage. But before that, we need to review the store's financials in some easy, accessible way. So here we've taken our store from the start to figure out what our valuation will actually be when we go ahead and find a business and we offer them a lump sum. So here I just have an example business that's making $10,000 in net every single month. Now this is an unrealistic situation. There's no real businesses out there apart from software companies or possibly agencies. But in terms of e-commerce businesses, which we're going to be focusing on, which I've gone ahead and bought most of the businesses around, we'll just take, for numbers sake, 10K net a month. Now that's $120,000 in net that you're going to be taking home every single year. Now if we put a 1x on profit, that's 1x on that 12 months, your price for the business is going to be 120K. Now for our unnamed store here, it's only been around for 3 months. That means that it's a little bit more high risk. So as we have here, we have all the numbers forecasted out, and you can see here in April, May, June, July, August, and the rest of the year, it's made absolutely nothing. So what we're going to do is take the total number of net, which is $95,000. We're going to divide that by 12, the number of months in a year. We've only sold for 3 months, so we're going to times that by 3, and that leaves us with $23,000. Now this is pretty basic, but a general rule of thumb is that for this business here, you shouldn't be putting more than $24,000 down due to the amount of risk that the business actually holds. But when I started out in e-commerce, I did not have $23,000 laying around to go ahead and take a gamble or a risk. So I'm going to show you a few different ways that we can go ahead and finance this deal. You should take this calculation for any business under 6 months old. The higher gamble that you're going to be taking, the higher reward that you're going to make, because you're going to be putting less money down each time. So one easy way that we could go ahead and extend this and make this seem a little bit better to the owner itself is doing a deal like putting 43K down, the net of last month, doing 20K in seller financing, and using our rule here of putting just $23,000 down. How can we actually make this better for us? Now the next option here is we could do something along the lines of $38,000 in seller financing, $10,000 down, which is reduce our risk even more, put more risk on the seller, but then if they believe in the business, there should be no reason that they should be against that, because in total they're going to be getting an extra $5,000 here. Now if that doesn't seem appealing enough, you could do something along the lines of $50,000 in seller financing with $4,000 down. That means they're getting just over $10,000 extra just for doing a seller finance. Now if you don't know what seller financing is, I'll put it in the most simple terms possible. Virtually, you're going to be paying off the business itself from the business's expenses. Now, if we're making $10,000 a month, just like the previous example, and we have a 60-40 split with seller financing, that means from that $10,000 there, you're going to be given $6,000 towards your loan from the seller, and you're going to be taking $4,000 almost as a management fee to go ahead and run that business. But the thing is, after your period where you've gone ahead and paid off that loan, you can stop paying the seller for the business, and instead of like an agency where a client gives up and that's all you have, once you've paid off that retainer, you'll be able to take over an asset which you've virtually been paid to do. However, my favorite way of financing businesses is through a seller down payment KPI. Key performance indicators are different indicators how the business is performing. For example, if the business reaches $10,000 in sales, the seller is actually going to get a bonus towards that. So we could do $70,000 in seller financing here, a $2,000 security down payment, and then these 3 different KPIs below, which you can go ahead and change around for each example. Now, instead of making $95,000, imagine this business was making $9,500. That means all you would have to do here, in this case, is do $7,000 in seller financing, put $200 down, which is virtually the cost to set up a Shopify store in the first place, and you have an asset which is cash flowing every single month. Now, overall, the pattern isn't always the same, but this works with businesses to buy because I've done the exact same time after time again. Another way that you can go ahead and finance businesses is through sites like Boopos. Now, you do need a little bit of money down, and you'll need to verify it with the platform itself. But from here, they'll literally give you money to go ahead and buy the business and then loan against it. This business here is a software company, which is a Google Sheets API. They're asking 1.2 million. Boopos actually gives you a loan here to go ahead and buy the business for $700,000. Now, anything else between that negotiation, you're going to have to actually go ahead and put up yourself. Or what I would suggest in this case is doing 500K or so in seller financing, but I think there's quite a bit of negotiation here going back and forth. Now, once you've found a few good businesses, you can follow this simple template here, which I've been using for around the last year. And simply all you need to do is leave your subject line as quick question with the business name itself and create a very short, simple, easy to read message that doesn't sound like a bot or doesn't take 5 minutes to go ahead and run through. I've just left one here. You can go ahead and just copy it directly off the sheet, which I've left in the description below. And now here are some key points which you need to understand when you're proposing to go ahead and buy the business. Seller financing is a major one. Are they against it, or would they actually be in favor for it? How are the sales? Are they trending up or down? You may have heard of this phrase before, called EBITDA. Now that's earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation. All it simply means is the money that you're going to be taking home without having to calculate the actual cost of interest, leaving the money in the bank, or any of the other downsides. You can take this in most cases as net profit. Now, where the business is actually based is super important. A company in the US is going to sell more than a company based in Europe, especially when it's on the smaller scale. Now that's simply because there's more potential customers in the US compared to a small European country that only speaks 1 or 2 languages. You need to consider a few other points like the team, the reason for them selling, and anything else which could potentially cause a downfall of the business if the owner actually goes ahead and leaves. Now, if I was going to go ahead and sell my YouTube channel, which I'm obviously not because I'm producing more and more high quality content in the coming weeks, without me, my YouTube channel is not really worth anything. So if a brand is based around 1 or 2 people and you go ahead and remove them, is the business just going to fall apart completely? Now, following up is even more important, and you can send a simple message like this, straight to the point, and keep in communication via WhatsApp or email as much as possible. If you show that you're interested, you're serious, and you have everything aligned, that's one less reason that they're not going to accept your seller financing deal. And you can just use this short questionnaire here to go ahead and get all of the pieces of information that you need for going ahead to buy your first business. Simply just make a copy here and send it over via WhatsApp or an email message to the potential seller of the business itself. Later down the road, you're going to need additional information, and that's where you can send these questions here. I won't run through them because you can simply check them out in the document in the description. Now, once you find a few businesses that you like the look of, you want to put them in a simple summary like this with all of the pieces of information simply written out. Now, you can use ChatGPT like I did for this one here and get an overall summary so you can go ahead and present this to the seller themselves. Now, you may be wondering, but they already know the information here. You're simply showing intent and you're actually serious that you want to go ahead and buy their store. Something simple or one-pager you can find on that document. Now, once you've agreed on moving forward to the next step, you're going to send a thing called an LOI, and you can just fill out all the pieces of information here from this simple template. It's a non-binding document, meaning it doesn't really mean too much, but it just shows the next steps forward, outlines the terms of the business and how it's going to be financed. You want to mention seller financing here and explain with the seller exactly how it will work with some of your track record as well. Now, even if you just started a few social media pages, built a brand of TikTok, that's all points going towards using seller financing and why they should pick you over somebody else. And once you've agreed on those terms there, you can go ahead and present an SPA agreement or a SPA agreement, which is simply an expanded LOI, which is legally binding, meaning that you should both progress forward if both of you agree to the terms of the contract. And from there, congratulations, you just become an owner of your first business. But the process is basically just you finding the business, setting up the deal itself, finding a way to finance it, and then closing the deal. It's simply just 4 steps. And I've done it multiple times, so once you get one under, you can go ahead and look for the next business to go ahead and buy. Now, the whole world of buying businesses is pretty secretive, so I've gone ahead and created an online school community group, which is totally free to join, where I'll be doing weekly calls, running through different deals, and talking about buying businesses and showing my current acquisition portfolio. So if you do want to join, ask questions, or look for businesses to buy and sell, I'll leave a link at the top of the description of the video. For all the other resources, they'll all be linked below, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.